What's going on, y'all? Today I want to talk with you guys about busting a common myth that I get around fasting, which is should you not work out, right? This is a common question I get. And really, the myth is more so that you shouldn't exercise or strength train when you are fasting, specifically more of the extended water fasting variety. So I want to spend some time here and kind of unpack this because you definitely can work out while fasting. It's just sometimes this process requires you to do things a little bit different, right? So, what I want to first off say is let's say you're planning on going on a 3 day fast, right? You start Sunday evening, Monday's your first real day, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you break it on Thursday morning, right? Or Wednesday evening, either one. So with this, Monday, let's say that you have a strength training routine where you are lifting weights, you're walking, you might do some core calisthenics exercise. On day one on that Monday, you do not have to adjust a single thing. You should work out exactly as normal. Get all of the amazing benefits of fasted exercise, such as an HGH spike, which is human growth hormone. This helps out with having growing more muscle, being able to have better skin. Lots of good hormonal benefits come from increased HGH, right? So take benefit of this. Now, on day two, what ends up happening is you might feel a little bit unsure of whether or not you should work out on this day because it's a whole day without eating. Well, on this day, what I advise you guys is to number one, listen to Holy Spirit and play it by feel. Because sometimes as you guys fast, maybe you shouldn't work out, but then oftentimes it's a matter of the fact that you have 20, 30 minutes of really rock solid energy when you are fasting to where you can still exercise and recover well as well too. So my general advice on day 2 and 3 would be listen to Holy Spirit and see how your body's feeling. If you're training for a specific goal in mind, I definitely recommend that you still train. But if it's more so a feeling of, I just got to work out because I got to work out, maybe you're just supposed to walk that day, right? But now let's go ahead and get into some more finer detail. Fasting, maybe on day 2 or 3, and you're working out. Let's say your normal workout would be 60 minutes. You do about 8 exercises, an average of 3 to 4 sets each exercise, or two to three sets each exercise. And you're doing anywhere from, 3 or 5 to 15 reps on these exercises. So a big range, which is what it should be. What I recommend if you are extended fasting is to play with potentially and just seeing how you feel. You're likely going to want to cut the volume down a little bit and still keep intensity, but just not do as many sets or reps. So, what I mean by that, I mean, if you normally work out for 60 minutes, the workout should probably be about 35 minutes, right? 30 to 40 minutes, something like a 50 to 60% of what you normally do. And then the overall volume, instead of being 3 or 4 sets of every exercise, you'd want to bring it down to maybe 1 or 2 main working sets for each exercise. So bringing down the total volume by about 50%, 50% or 66% of what you're working with as a whole, and then still work on keeping actually the weights as high as you can with good form. So if you're working, reps of 5 and it's a heavier weight, I recommend still working on doing that. But if you need to, go to maybe 90% or 80% of what you intended to work with for that weight and still do the same amount of reps, but maybe for 3 sets of 5 instead of 25. Your general rule of thumb could be for your total number of reps. So if you're doing 4 sets of 10, it would be 40, would be to look at doing half those reps, but still with the same weight. So maybe just doing 2 sets of 10, for instance, or 4 sets of 5 for that exercise, or 3 sets of 6, right? Something like that would end up giving you about the appropriate volume for your exercises and your workouts to be able to make sure that you're still keeping intensity, especially if you're training for a goal, but you're not necessarily draining yourself. Because when you go through a fast, guys, you have emotional things you're going through, spiritual things you're going through, physical things that are happening to your body. So you don't always want to spend all your time just working out and putting all of your energy into the exercise. I prefer when working out while fasting longer to just simply punch in the clock, focus on maybe 2 to 4 really important movements, really put in some solid effort on those. and then go ahead and step on out. Right. So that way it's not something that really drains the body a ton. It's more so just priming you, making sure that everything's working well and allowing you to feel really, really good. If you think about it this way, God designed our body, when we were hunters before we were farmers and, lived in the 21st century, we would be fasting all the time and we would have to be fasted while hunting. And that required running, that required throwing, maybe wrestling an animal. So with this, you're still totally allowed to do cardio, strength train, all of these things while fasting. It's just kind of understanding to what ratio is going to benefit you the best, because you're always going to be stronger when you've eaten. You're always going to have more energy to do more volume in your workouts when you've eaten, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't not work out when you fast. So if you've ever been curious about it, that's my answer for it. The easiest way to think of it is just cut your volume in half on everything, but still keep the intensity as high as possible. Hope this was helpful for you guys as we busted this myth on fasting. Take care, you guys.